Hey sis, welcome back to Black Girl SOS. It's your girl Snobby, and today we are talking about the virtual law, virtual bar experience. And as always, I bring you nothing but the best of the best. My dear, introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Brittany Williams. I'm a recent graduate of AEWCL Spring 2020, and it's been quite the experience since graduating.
So we are definitely going to get all the way into this whole virtual experience. COVID got us all locked down and shit. But let me tell you all how I met the magnificent Brittany. So I was in Fort Lauderdale decompressing. Bitches gotta relax, you know what I'm saying? So I was decompressing and I was at brunch at my favorite spot in Fort Lauderdale. You know what? I was gonna shout them out, but they don't pay me. So you know what I'm saying?
I
No
support
free
it.
plugs on Black Girl SOS. You gotta cut the check.
There you go.
I was at my favorite spot in Fort Lauderdale and I was having brunch by myself, and these two black women sat next to me. And at some point during my brunch, the one closest to me said, "Hey, are you going to use that other seat?" And I'm like, "Nah, you know what? I'll just move over. You can take my seat." And they were like, "Oh, that's so nice." I was like, "Girl, of course. We sisters. Whatever you need. Like, I don't need this chair. If you need it, it's yours." So by the time the third person showed up, the people sitting next to them on the left had already left, so they didn't need my seat anymore. But at this point, I done found me some new friends and we're heavily engaged in the conversation. And the third person shows up, and the third person is Brittany. So the women I was speaking to was Brittany's mom and her mom's business partner. And they're
Mhm.
really dope too. I'm trying to get them on because listen, I specialize in baddies only, and they are super, super dope. So anyway, as we're talking, I mentioned that I'm a lawyer, and Brittany says she just took the bar. She just graduated law school, and I was so excited for her. And at the same time, I was triggered. Anyone, anyone with the JD who has sat for the bar, y'all know we are easily
Oof.
triggered. Like, you don't get over that shit ever. I listen. It's still fresh. It's an open wound. So I was super, super excited. And then her mom was just telling me about like her upbringing and all the things she went through to get where she's at. And I was like, I gotta have this Betty on the show. She's got to come on the show. So Brittany, tell us a little bit about your youth and all the things you overcome to get where you are.
Sure. Well, first and foremost, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming.
It's such an honor, really. But I guess essentially, long story short, my mom would probably love if I shared this. So, being born essentially was, I guess, the first task. So, I was born premature and I had like several strokes and brain bleeds. And essentially, the doctors had told my mom, like, I'm not going to be able to do anything. Like, I won't be able to do math. I probably won't be able to read. And just years and years of whatever firm, whatever I had to do to get there. And obviously, with the support of my family, I made it, and I made it all the way to law school.
I know
So,
that's right. Let me
yeah,
tell you something. These mofos don't be knowing. Now, I don't know what your particular religion is. I am not a religious person, but I'm extremely
likewise.
spiritual and I am a
Hmm.
believer. And I know that what you ain't going to do is tell God what his child is going to do.
Mm.
That's what I do
Hmm.
know. So they thought you were
Yes.
not going to be magnificent, but God had already wrote your story.
Mm.
That was already written.
Yes, I remember like a big or like one story I was always told like growing up was my grandma had called like one of her good friends and they were like, is it a like black baby boy or girl? And my grandma was like, why are you asking me that? And her friend who was a doctor at the time was like, is it a boy or a girl? And he's black as well.
Mhm.
And so my grandma was like, oh, she's a girl, like it's a baby girl. And he was like, she'll be just fine. Black baby girls, they're known to make it and
That's
just
what I'm
against all
talking about.
odds. So I really had like, I'd probably say even then, like a very big spiritual support system. And, I made it. So fast forward through everything, I finally made it to undergrad. And so um, I actually became really sick during my first year of undergrad. So maybe a few months in, I remember like maybe around like November. So school started in August, and here it was November. I got really sick. Like I had severe chest pain. I was having a hard time breathing.
Wow.
And my mom had brought me to the hospital, local hospital, and they said, "Oh, it's just like chest inflammation. You're fine." And then fast forward to February, it was to the point where I, could barely walk, and the chest pain was unbearable. And my aunt, I actually called her that time, and she brought me to another hospital, and that was the first time that I heard that I was diagnosed with stage 2 Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. Did you go
yeah.
back to school that semester?
I did actually. So I did stay in school the whole time. I stayed in school through chemo and radiation.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna hold you, sis. You're a superhero. You
Oh
are
gosh,
a superhero.
making me blush.
Mm-mm. No, I'm serious. That's a lot.
Oh,
That
yeah.
that's a girl. I get cramps, and I'm like, first of all, I'm gonna have to call out of life today. This shit is out of pocket.
I love it. Out of life.
Wow, that is impressive. And where'd you go to undergrad?
So I did start my first year at Nova, and then I transferred to FIU. So go Panthers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that is
Yeah.
such an amazing story. So what made you want to pursue the law? I mean, you had already, honestly, at this point, your superhero card was fully stamped. Why would you endure yet another gauntlet of life known
Uh,
as law school? Because law school's a gauntlet, man. It ain't
mm-hmm.
no joke. It'll open your ass.
Absolutely. And it sure did. Oh my gosh. Those 3 years, I was really like, I don't know. Like I look back now, I'm like, I don't know how I did it. Don't know how
I
I
think
made
I
it.
think everyone gets there and you're just like, I
Yeah.
don't know how I did it, but it's done. I don't even
Exactly. It's done. We're not looking back again. We're not.
It's like, listen, the ink is dry on that diploma, and I'm out.
Exactly. It's like made it. Look, got the degree. That's all that matters. But what a good question. So it's kind of ironic because I had always said I never wanted to be a lawyer. I actually thought I was going to go into science
The
for the longest
audacity.
time. I know. I was like, like I just could not stand like the stigma around like attorneys and stuff. And that's all I was kind of like seeing at the time were just like really just obnoxious people who were like, oh, look how,
I
rich
mean,
people are.
attorneys are obnoxious. I'm totally. I gotta own that. I mean, the only people more obnoxious than attorneys are fucking surgeons. Like
Oh, yeah,
they are on
absolutely.
another fucking.
Yep. We will never touch them ever. And I'm okay with that because they're just a
Okay
whole
with
new
it
level.
also. Like I'm trying to do my part to better our
Hmm.
reputation.
Exactly. Thank you. Good looking out. We appreciate you. We really do. Oh my gosh. But yeah, so um by the time I'd started like undergrad or like once I transferred to FIU, I had by that point kind of developed an interest in like international relations, and then just so that was my major at the time. I went from nursing to international relations, and
Wow.
then just kind of learning through everything like that the world just isn't us, and that there's so much more, and so many people in need, and that there's not enough people doing the work. I was like, well, I just knew probably by like my first semester, I was like, I want to speak for the voiceless. Like that was my primary motivating factor. And I was like, I have to do something. I don't know how big or small, but I just have to do something. And any change, whether it's again big or small in
Yeah.
someone's life, was all that I wanted to do. So yeah, once I finished up at FIU, I decided like, okay, I'm going to law school. So studied for the LSAT, and I was planning on initially on going to law school for like international human rights.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you what area of law
Yeah,
were you planning to specialize in?
yeah, that was the initial plan. And actually, a big factor as well. I'm not even sure how I could overlook that. But a big like factor was right after I graduated high school. My mom, it was a business partners of her at, or a business partner of her at the time.
Mhm.
He was kind of working with like younger students of color to like be entrepreneurs at younger ages.
Oh, I
So
love that.
yeah, so I had the incredible opportunity of traveling with him and like his whole group to Ghana in 2011. And
I
my
love
gosh,
Ghana. Oh,
yes. Oh,
Love
what?
Ghana. I have decided that that is home. And
Yeah,
Ghana
it is.
decided that I belong there. So true
I
story. Like
love
2 days
it.
ago, first of all, I watch
Yes.
everything from Africa on Netflix. Like if it's Netflix
Yes.
Africa, I'm locked and
There
loaded.
you
And
go.
I can't remember what I was watching 2 days ago, but I started having like homesickness for Ghana.
Yeah.
Mind you, I've only been to this country once. I was there for
Mhm.
like a month though. And
Yeah.
even my friends who are from Ghana, who like they still
Mhm.
have family there,
Yeah.
like I would say by like the second week, everybody was like, "So basically, you live here because like
Mhm.
you got friends, you just be out in these streets." And I was
Yes.
like, I mean, when I came off the plane, they told me welcome home. So say
There you
less,
go.
say
Exactly.
less,
Like, period.
right?
That's fantastic. Yeah, like I fell in love with Ghana as well. Like, and it was like instantaneous. Like, I mean, it was just such a different experience, and we were able to travel like all over and see like all sides of Ghana. So we got to see like the more rural areas of Ghana, and then and we got to work like in schools and things like that to like really
That's
reach out to
dope.
students.
And how
Yeah,
old
like
were you?
I think this was just before my 18th birthday.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
really dope. That's dope.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was such an experience. Like just being able to work alongside so many other like-minded colleagues and the fact that like we were all like students of color, like it was just a relief in a sense because it's like there's no fear of like, that inherent kind of judgment. You're
It's
like,
true.
oh gosh,
That's a
yeah.
real fucking thing. That's a
Yeah.
real thing. You don't gotta tap dance
Yeah.
around that shit here. That's a real fucking
Exactly.
thing.
Yeah, and it was just so nice. I mean, just every part of it. And also like during that entire trip. He also, or like her business partner at the time, had also partnered with like two like environmentalists who are working actively in Ghana as well to, obviously just protect the environment. And that's when I learned about like the shea trade in Ghana and
Mhm.
how like essentially shea butter is just such a commodity. We don't think twice about it, but here it is. It's like these are thousands and thousands of women's like livelihood, and their
Absolutely.
women take care of everything. I mean, they go to work all day or
Mhm.
actually at night, and then like they're taking care of the family during the day. Like that superhero beyond belief. I have no words as to even begin to
Yeah,
how to describe. Like I don't know how they do it. Like that, it's incredible.
it
So
is.
in learning about like how essentially like thousands and thousands of women, they sit there at night, like work all night, and essentially here they are harvesting these shea nuts for middlemen that are then going to these major corporations and
Mhm.
these states and stuff. And these women are dying from snake bites because they don't have the protective gear
Wow.
to protect them at night from snake bites while they're harvesting these shea
I
nuts
didn't
because
know
they
that,
can't do it
and
during
I
the day.
definitely would not have even thought of that. Wow.
Yeah. So once I learned more about that, I mean, right then and there, like my eyes were so open again to the fact that like this world is so much bigger, than you and I, than the
Yeah.
States, than North America. It's so much more. And it's like just seeing how even that could be allowed was already by that point incredibly disturbing and questionable. Like how could you sit here and tell people, oh yeah, go harvest this for me, but we're not gonna give you the
But you know,
basic
if you
needs.
die, you
Yeah.
die.
Yeah. I mean, and we're not even talking
I
like,
mean
oh,
that's
a
on
bad
brand.
infection.
That's on brand for how they treat black bodies.
Yeah,
Black
absolutely.
bodies are treated the same globally. We are
Absolutely.
commodified and not
Yep.
treated like people. So it's
Absolutely.
fucked up. It's
Yeah.
even more fucked up when it happens in countries where we are the majority.
Exactly.
Because even in
It's like
countries,
that white reach. The
that's the
white
thing though. It's
reach
like
is
even when we're
very,
physically like the majority, we make up most of the population.
yeah.
Economically, we still aren't, and so
Mhm.
our countries are still reliant on
Mhm.
the Euro bullshit. It's
Yeah,
very fucked up.
absolutely. It's all part of one really, really twisted scheme. I mean,
Concentric circle of fuckery. Of fuckery.
absolutely. I mean, it's just a blatant fact. Like, they've literally found a way to not only make anti-blackness like global, but
Hmm.
also it's like, look how we're even going to use it against you, and still, even when you do make up the
Yeah.
majority, and it's like,
And then
wow,
act like they're doing us a favor
yeah,
with their white savior bullshit. Like, oh, but we're gonna come and we're gonna invest this money. First of all,
don't
had
get
you
me
not stole
started.
my natural resources, and my
Exactly.
fucking people, I
Yeah,
don't need you to invest. I have
absolutely.
everything I need already.
Absolutely. Oh,
But
I always think about that. That's a whole other
I'm
conversation. We
like,
go
but I
on for
digress.
hours. I know.
Because the good people that listen to BGS know I will hop on my Malcolm X
Yes.
soapbox in a motherfucking minute.
Yes.
Malcolm, and I'm a real Martin, not that
It,
Martin that I'm trying to sell to y'all on
mm. Oh
January
yeah.
25th. Not that bullshit. The
I
real
love
Martin.
it. Yes. And that's the
So
only kind of Martin
you
we
just
need.
so you decided that international human rights is no longer the law you want to practice, or
I think international human rights is very admirable. I appreciate the work. It needs to be done, but in all honesty, I kind of lost faith in the system, just because it's like you can spend your entire career working on it and you may not even begin to see even a step in any sort of whatever it is you're trying to do, whether it's protections for people or criminal prosecutions for genocides. It's just
yeah,
the work needs to be done, but I just realized quickly it wasn't for me. And I was like, it's time to turn my attention back home, anyways, because there are so many problems in this country that,
that
you know,
part.
yeah.
So
I was
now
like,
what's your passion, or what do you want to pursue?
right. So I've always, it's always hard to kind of narrow down my passions because
Girl,
I
you don't
find that,
gotta narrow it down. If you got 58, give me all 58 of them shits. You get to be your whole self here. You don't have to fucking make yourself
oh, what
small,
a
make your
blessing.
interests small, or make no.
Yes.
If you got 58 interests, people love to fucking box us in. Oh, well,
Yes.
really try to tailor your focus.
Yeah,
Bitch, I'm fit to
true.
focus on breaking my foot off in your ass. So you don't need to tailor it. What is it that you
I
think you want
love
to
it.
pursue now as an attorney? Because I'm
Right.
claiming, I'm claiming that bar for you.
Yeah.
As an attorney,
Thank
what
you.
what do you want to what do you want to practice, or how do you want to practice?
Right. So once I switched from international human rights, I realized public interest was my thing, but public interest is very broad, and that's what I've always appreciated about it as well. So I ideally right now would like to work in just general civil rights. So specifically for like trans people of color,
I
especially
love
trans
it.
Black people. Yes, like those, some of the most vulnerable populations. And I mean, that's just always where I felt drawn to. Like, during my like first summer, I worked at like a local legal aid, and it was or I was able to work with just solely low income populations. And it's essentially providing access to a justice system and a legal system that
Yeah.
essentially is made to exclude
Talk about it.
anybody.
Talk
Yeah,
about it.
yes,
That
it
that's a
really is.
that's a real thing. I was on a podcast a couple of weeks ago. Some guys from back home in the Bronx,
Hmm.
and shout out to them because they're doing a lot of good work also.
Hmm.
Um, we got into talking about the justice system, and
Yeah.
the statement that is always made was made, and it's like the system is broken. And I was like, I
Hmm.
can assure you, I've got Sally Mae debt, a very big
Hmm.
degree, and a license to practice in two jurisdictions that lets me know the system is not broken. It works
Hmm.
exactly the way it was designed to
Absolutely.
work. It was designed
Yes.
not for us. So
Hmm.
that's why it works flawlessly. I hate when people say the
Exactly.
system is broken. That shit ain't broke.
Nope.
That shit
Mm-mm.
ain't broke.
It's very intentional, very
Correct.
carefully created to exclude certain people. And we all generally know it's if you're not white, cis, hetero,
Correct.
able, rich, it's not for you. Like
Correct.
anybody who falls out of those lines,
Correct.
chances are it's made to exclude you in some form.
This is why Ice Cube was on my fucking nerves these last couple
Oh my, don't get me started. I was
for the
like,
people in
what?
the mezzanine. That motherfucker did not do this shit for us. He didn't care about us. First of all, nothing he was talking about was new. He act like he was First of all, you can't broker a fucking deal for the race with a racist. That's number one. Number two, none of the initiatives he was talking about were new. These initiatives have been put forth for so many years by so many
Yeah.
people on the ground actually tried to do the work
Hmm.
and work with local legislation. The fact that he tried to fucking parade this bullshit like, oh, I'm trying to help y'all. No,
Hmm.
you're trying to help yourself
Yeah,
because you don't want to
absolutely.
pay taxes.
Yeah,
It's about your
exactly.
pocket.
Come
You don't
on.
give a shit about
Yeah.
the regular person.
Mm-mm. Not at all.
Meanwhile,
Not at all.
diverting votes.
Ugh.
I digress. I think it's very, I think it's very dope though that you want to work with trans people of color. I was actually watching.
Hmm.
Do you watch Pose?
I don't actually. I have a backlog, girl. Of
You know
huge
what? I'm
backlog.
gonna
I'm gonna
give you
blame
a
the bar
bye
though.
because you were in law school. This is not your fault. I understand.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
But let me tell you something. You need to go ahead and get your binge on.
Yes.
So, damn, I can't think of what her character name is on Pose. Shit, I wish I could think of her name. Um, anyway, one of the actresses from Pose, she's a
Mhm.
trans woman.
Awesome.
Really, really dope sister.
Mhm.
She is hosting the third annual Trans Tech Fair this
Oh,
weekend.
sweet.
And before she like took off in acting, she
Mhm.
do like HR stuff, but like building out the technology for it.
Mm.
And so,
Wow.
it's really hard for trans people to navigate the
Mhm.
fucking to move about the cabin just
Mhm.
on a general basis. But
Absolutely.
yeah, she was telling the story about like she had been hired by a not-for-profit, and so she was developing their training, and she
Mhm.
wanted to put it online, and they felt like one, it needed to be in person just because in person is best, and then two, they felt like it wouldn't be effective online. And so she was just saying, she feels like this third annual trans tech conference is kind of like
Mhm.
her I told you so moment, because now
Yep.
we all work from home, we all
Absolutely.
train from home, we
Yes.
learn from home. And
Mhm.
additionally, she made a really good point. She was like, a lot of times trans people who are really good candidates for these jobs, when they come in for an interview, because people are so transphobic, when
Mhm.
they see you, if you can't pass,
Mhm.
they don't even hear you, and
Mhm.
your resume stops speaking, and they're more interested in the fact that you're trans. And it's like, why the fuck is that relevant? Can you do the job? Because if you can do the job, that, you know what I'm saying, that should be all that
Yeah.
matters. But her point was just like, this was
Absolutely.
an opportunity to try to level the playing field
Yeah.
for trans people. So I just thought that was so, so dope.
Yeah.
I
That's
really wish I had time
powerful.
this weekend, because I would totally log on for that
Yeah.
trans tech fair. But something to look
Yeah.
into if you have a little time this weekend,
Absolutely. Yeah. That I'd love to. I'm so
because
glad
it
that yeah.
might give you an opportunity to like network. Who knows who's on there, what
Mhm.
opportunities they may be sharing that might,
Right.
you know,
Yeah. I guess I always feel a little bad, because I'm like, I don't want to feel like I'm just kind of like shoving myself in their space as like a cis woman. I don't ever want to be like, oh, look, like, let me,
yeah.
kind of like how white savior complex is with us, where
No,
it's like, you have,
I think
so,
the fact that you're even cognizant of that is exactly why you're the right ally.
oh, thank
When she was
you.
talking on the show, the one of the
Mhm.
hosts, black gentleman. I don't know if
Mhm.
I don't know how he identifies, but
Right.
he was just saying, "Dang, that sounds like a really good event. I would like to attend, but I don't want to step on any toes." And she was like,
Mhm.
"This is for us, but it's open to everybody. If you want to
Mhm.
attend, attend." She was like, "That's the point. That
Mhm.
there should be equity. I shouldn't. We really shouldn't need a separate.
Exactly.
We shouldn't
Why?
need a separate thing. So we're happy to have you if you
Yeah.
are happy to be around us."
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So yeah,
Yeah.
look into that, girl. Check.
Thank you. I definitely will. Oh my gosh, that's and perfect timing
Right?
this weekend. So
I'm
look at
telling you,
that.
everything works the way it's supposed to.
Girl, just going back to how you and I met. I almost didn't go. Like I almost was like, you know what? Like maybe I should go home and just go kind of look at like jobs, what's going on. And I was like, you know what? Like I deserve this. I'm gonna go spend time with my mom. And then lo and behold, I meet you. And I was just like, I remember like I was talking to my mom after. I was like, what are the freaking chances? Like this was not an accident. This was
Not
not
at
by
all.
design.
Because I wasn't even supposed to be there. So I
Yeah.
was actually driving, I was leaving. I was
Mm-hmm.
actually on my way out of Fort Lauderdale. And as I was driving, down the coastline, I was like,
Mm-hmm. It's
are
like,
you
do I
really? I was
really?
like, are you really ready to go? Because I didn't get a chance. Like, I think I had been in South Florida the night
Mm-hmm.
before, so I didn't really get to hang out in Fort Lauderdale. And I
Mm-hmm.
really do enjoy Fort Lauderdale. But the
Yeah.
night before, I was like in Miami most of the night,
Mm-hmm.
and so I was like, I kind of like spent 20 minutes here,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't really get to enjoy it. I didn't get to go to my favorite restaurant. And I was like, you know what? What are you rushing home for?
There you go.
Like, why are you rushing?
Self-care.
I was like, take your fucking time, go
Mm-hmm.
enjoy brunch. I'm one of those people that I like to go out by myself. I travel alone,
Yeah.
I dine alone, I go to movies alone. I like me.
Love it. Me
I like
too.
me. So,
I'm happy to be around me.
I think I'm a good time. So I
Yeah.
like to hang out with me.
Why not? Yes. I am
So
so
I like
supportive of that.
literally last minute. I I was like, when I was supposed to make the left to go over the bridge, I was like,
Mm-hmm.
you know what? Let me pull over and Google and see exactly where it's at. Because I never drove there on my own because I'm
Yeah.
already boozy. And so
Love
so I have to take
it.
a lift. So I was like, you know
Yes.
what? Let me Google and see where this shit is at because
Mhm.
that's what's about to happen. And
Mhm.
I was like, oh, cool. Not even a mile away. Took my ass in there and
Yes.
so glad I did. No mistakes
Oh,
are made.
yes. So grateful.
The
So
universe
grateful.
conspires for our win.
Yes.
Oh
Come
my
on, universe. Come on.
we love it. So
Yes.
I have a large interest in what this virtual bar experience was like. So for those of you who are not
Triggered.
attorneys in any state, not you Wikipedia attorneys, not Google JD. I'm not talking to you motherfuckers that got an Esquire in Twitter. Not y'all. For those of us who are actual attorneys, we have to take a 2 or 3 day bar depending on your jurisdiction. The first day for most of us is state, and then the second day is essentially federal. And and again, that depends on which jurisdiction you sit in. I think in
Mhm.
Jersey you take federal first and then state. I don't fucking know. Don't
Mm.
quote me. Point is, it's 2 to 3 days depending on your jurisdiction, and it is the most stressful
Mm.
fucking time of your life. Like
Mm.
honestly,
Mm.
you want to pull like the eyelashes out of your eyelids. It's such a stressful endeavor. I
Yes.
can tell you I had to take the bar more than once, so my stress was through
I
through the roof. So when I met Brittany and found out that she graduated, she graduated during quarantine, I was like, well,
Mhm.
damn, what was that bar experience like? So, Britt,
Oh
what was that bar
gosh,
experience like?
girl, a nightmare is an understatement. Like either I wish there was a word that could encapsulate all of the emotions and just excuse my language, but just shit show of it all. Like there was just, I mean, and I mean jurisdictions left and right. Like my heart went out to like almost everybody, obviously, because it's just like, I mean, these jurisdictions really just kind of showed their hand in a sense. They pretty much said like, we don't care about you. We only care about the money that you're going to give us to take the exam and to do these character and fitness investigations,
I've always
and we
felt
just
that way.
don't care. Oh yeah. um Essentially, long story short, after, or not even long story short, but my
I was like, no,
conclusion,
girl, tell the story.
yes,
We are here for the story.
after, well, main point is once I took the bar, I was like, I don't care where I end up in my career, I'm going
You
to,
got to tell the people how you got to taking the
yes,
bar,
oh
about the
my gosh,
jurisdiction hopping, because
yes,
that is
okay,
some of the craziest shit I've ever heard.
yes, okay, all right. I gotta like take a deep breath in because it's like just so like just triggered in every
Woosah,
sense of the
easily
word.
triggered. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Whew, just mentioning the bar, my heart rate started. Yeah, okay. All right. So, here it is in March. And by this point, law school had, completely gone virtual. And this is when, March and then the end of April and early May is when we're finally being like hearing from jurisdictions about what they're going to do about, essentially administering the bar exam in a pandemic. So I had initially set up everything for Florida. I had gotten my Florida bar prep in January. I had already been looking at jobs, and I had essentially been planning on working at like the local legal aid down here, after I graduated. So I had all my plans set out for Florida. And I know the day exactly. So here it is, May 4th, 2020.
May the fourth be with you.
Exactly. The worst day they could, I mean, I can't. So Florida decides that they are going to hold the bar exam in person in these convention centers. And instead of it just being in one convention center, which I don't know if it was in Tampa for you,
Yeah, it was
but they
always in
divided
Tampa.
it, right. So
Yeah.
they divided it into Orlando and Tampa. So all I had to do was read the first sentence and see that they were holding an in-person exam in a pandemic, and talking about these initial quote quote safety guidelines, which is like temp checks and that, oh, social distancing. I'm like, do you forget that we don't know by this point, obviously it's early in the year, we don't know anything about this
And
virus.
also, it's Florida. Florida, we specialize in fucking shit up. We literally don't get anything right. So I
That
don't think in person is a great idea during the damn pandemic.
exactly. I just remember I just I like just burst out into tears. I was like, because I just didn't know what to do. I was like, what am I supposed to do? Like, here I am, like, I knew if I was going back home, I was going to be in a multi-generational household. And not to mention, I'm
I was
immunocompromised.
about
Like,
to say you're compromised. Yeah.
yes, I've always been extremely susceptible to any sort of respiratory and lung illnesses. Like, my mom makes fun of me because she'll say, oh, you get a cold and you end up with pneumonia. It happens, like,
It's real.
every time I get
That's
a
real
cold.
though.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just remember I was like, I don't know what to do. I ended up in a panic. Like, here I am calling like my clinic partner at the time, and I'm like, what do I do? Like, I because I just felt at that point, like, here I've been working to just to getting to take the bar, and
Hmm.
I feel like everything was just ripped from under me because I was like, I didn't have any backup plan because I didn't feel a need for backup plan. And to be honest, I don't know why I had my hopes that Florida would actually make the right decision.
I didn't want to
I
bring that up. I didn't want to bring it up because I just feel like
look,
if you lived in Florida longer than a year, you already know if Florida
yes,
can fuck it up, they will
they
fuck it
will.
up. Like,
Absolutely.
without question. That's the only thing Florida
Absolutely.
will absolutely do is fuck it up. So,
Exactly. So I don't know why I had such high expectations, and clearly reality checked me real quick. So I remember the next day I reached out to like my bar counselor at school,
mhm.
and I was like, we need to talk. She met with me that day, and pretty much we changed strategies. Like, we're like, okay, you know what? Let's sit for the DC bar, because by this point DC had announced that they were going to be holding their bar not in August anymore, but in September. And then I trusted DC more. DC cares about people and their health and their well-being and their safety and so much more.
I don't want to go that far with the
Oh, well,
district.
I
I,
know. I
I
know.
don't want to go that far with the district, but at least they had pushed the bar out. So
Yeah.
it gave you
Well,
another opportunity.
yeah. And by that point too, they were already trying to find ways to make sure they could administer it safely. But
Hmm.
by then they already realized, like, okay, this is a very unprecedented situation. Let's take some time to kind of figure out what we can do.
Yeah.
Where of course Florida's like, well, we don't care. Like, and I'm pretty sure it's obviously just showing like deference to the governor, which by that's a whole other story.
Don't
But
even
that's
get
that.
me
Yep.
started.
I know. Me, I tell myself that every second of the day. So here I am, and I managed to, like, after I meet with my, counselor or whatever, I was like, all right, let's go. So I did all this stuff for the DC bar, like, you know, did the application early, and the DC bar by that point I had agreed to reopen their registration period. So I was so grateful. So I had about 2 weeks until I could like apply to the DC bar. So I got everything done on time. So that way the morning of, I was like, all right, go time. Like, I'm just gonna log on,
Yeah.
submit it, and call it a day. So I remember I thought it would be open at like 12 o'clock at night, like midnight. No, DC had us waiting until like 9 o'clock. I finally refreshed the page, got it submitted, and not even 8 hours later, DC closes the registration
Good
period.
thing you were
So
on it early.
exactly. So I was grateful, but I felt bad, of course, because I was like, because I knew a lot of people were having to make changes because of what
Yeah.
their jurisdictions were doing, which I thought was just horrible, because nobody should have to,
I agree.
essentially, how much money it costs to apply to these bars. It's not cheap.
It
Florida, without
definitely
any
isn't.
sort of transparency, is $1,000. They don't describe what or why or where this money goes. And DC was $500, but at least they had a decency to kind of give you a breakdown as
Yeah.
to where your money was going. Where Florida, I have no idea.
I have no clue. No
Yeah,
clue.
nobody does. So
To
what a
this,
surprise.
to this day. I
I mean,
have
The
no
Florida
clue.
bar, transparency clearly is not its strong suit.
No.
They're not
Mm-mm.
about it.
That's not on brand for Florida.
Yeah, surprise. Yeah. So I was set, and I was like, all right, I feel good. I was like, I called like my bar prep. I was like, can I switch bar prep? They're like, yeah. I was like, all right, this is good. Like, I have a plan. I can relax now. Well, of course, with 2020 being 2020, here comes 2 weeks later, maybe three, and I get an email from the DC bar. And so, like you were describing earlier, how the bar is divided into 2 days, so you have state and federal. Well, DC had pretty much announced that they were going to be taking their exam, the bar, out of the MBE. So my whole plan by that point was essentially to take the DC bar, get the MBE score, port it into Florida, and just have to sit for Florida in one day in February.
Hmm.
That was the whole game plan. And then here DC comes in 3 weeks later, 2 to 3 weeks later, saying, oh, by the way, we're just gonna take it out to MB. And we talked about this when I met you. Like, nobody takes the bar just for the district. Nobody. Like,
It's a listen, no shade to my friends in the district, but y'all know I'm not
yeah,
lying. Nobody takes that fucking bar
yep.
because they want to be licensed in the fucking district. That is an
Nope.
opportunity to use your score
Mm-hmm.
to leverage into another bar. And if it's a bar with
Exactly.
reciprocity, then
Yep.
it's a waiver opportunity for you. But you don't just take the DC bar because
Nope.
you take the DC bar, honestly.
Exactly.
And for
Yep.
those of you who are not lawyers, so every state doesn't use the MBE. Once
Mm-hmm.
upon a time, most states used it. And I want to say like around 2011, 2012, because I remember when I was in my LLM program and I was in Missouri, they were trying to get me to take the Missouri bar. And I was like, first
Ooh.
of all, I hate it here. Why the fuck would I sit for your bar? But they
I
were
can't
like,
even
yeah, but we don't
imagine.
have. Yeah, I'm like, I don't want to fucking be here. The thing was, when I moved there because
Mm-hmm.
my dream job was there, and I got
Mm-hmm.
into the fellowship I wanted. I got
Mm-hmm.
into really good program. So
Mm-hmm.
I went there with the intent of, yo, I might do a couple of years here. I got
Mm-hmm.
there and I was like, I'm finna whip everybody ass. So that was good. That was a short-lived experience, but to the point. So I worked at H&R Block World headquarters, and
Mm-hmm.
one of the guys on my team, he was like, yo, you should just take the Missouri bar. It's super easy. He's like, the state part is easy. We don't have MBE, we have UBE.
Oh.
UBE is according to everyone who has taken it. Now, I'm not shading anyone who has taken
Right.
it. If you took the UBE and you got your bar card,
Yeah.
sis, bro, however you identified, you
Mm-hmm.
are fucking attorney, and that's that on
Mm-hmm.
that. I am not coming for
Yeah.
you. What I was told though by the guy I used to work with is that the UBE is easier than the MBE. And at this point, many states were starting to transition. So I think it was like maybe 4 or 5 states in 2011, and there were
Mm-hmm.
like 5 more states that were coming on board in 2012 and 2013. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, is it really easy? He was like, yeah, he
Mm-hmm.
was like, I'm telling you, this shit is a cakewalk. Like, if you can pass the
Wow.
Florida bar, take this shit. He was like, you don't even really got to study. And
Wow.
I was like,
Wouldn't
more
that be
reason I
nice?
don't want to be in Missouri. You motherfuckers are barely competent.
Right?
Clearly, you're
Oh
barely
my
competent.
gosh. Oh my
Honestly, he's a
gosh.
really smart guy. So he's probably just
Yeah.
thinking from his seat because, like I said, I worked with
Yeah.
him. He was a really, really smart guy. I'm like, maybe it's just
Mm-hmm.
easy to you. It's probably a lot of
Yeah.
motherfuckers walking around Missouri with a failed bar score, ready to kick your ass.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
But yeah,
Yes.
just that's just to give some context to, like, there are different multi-state questions that
Mm-hmm.
certain jurisdictions administer. So if you took a UBE and then you
Yeah.
tried to you wanted to try to get into a jurisdiction that
Mm-hmm.
takes MBE scores,
Mm-hmm.
that you
Yeah.
you would still need to sit your ass down for the MBE
Yep.
and get your life. So
Exactly. Yes, you just reminded me. So that's right. Obviously, I mean, I meant to say earlier that DC took it out of the UBE because they were a part of it. And so I just remember, like I said, again, like I was just like, is this a joke? And by this point, I was just like, I was just so tired because I'd already gone back and forth. I'd already started bar prep. And here I am changing or in the process of deciding, do I have to change jurisdictions again or what do I do? Do I just take DC and at least I can be barred somewhere and then
right.
assuming I passed it? Or do I kind of wait until Florida in February, which I just didn't want to do? I mean, like, how elitist is it to assume that I'll be fine, for 10 months without.
Well, you know that's how this profession is set up. It's
Absolutely.
economically designed to weed us out. The
Absolutely.
education, the LSAT
Yep.
prep,
Mhm.
application fees,
Mhm.
getting into school. Like, I went to Columbia
Yep.
law, and we don't. Our law
Yes.
school is not at main campus. It's not in Tallahassee.
Mhm.
It's here in
Right. It's in
Orlando. So,
Orlando.
so we don't
Yeah.
have dorms. We don't have dorms. So I have to pay my rent and pay for
Mhm.
school.
Mhm.
So you just
Yep.
assumed I had it? Like, you just assumed
Yeah.
I would be able to finance that? I need to buy books. God forbid I decide to eat. Don't
Yeah.
get
Don't even
sassy to
include
try to
food.
have a meal?
Mhm.
So yeah, I totally agree with you.
Absolutely.
It is like totally elitist.
Yeah. And just so much more. So yeah. So I, called my favorite bar counselor back at school. I was like, what do I do? I was like, I
Shout out
just
to your bar counselor though. Your bar
yes,
counselor is on
yes.
the
They
job, yo.
were Yeah, they were fantastic. Shout out to that department. I mean, especially during that, the fact they could even keep up, major kudos
Yeah,
to
man,
them.
that's a lot.
Yeah. So, talked again, and she was like, just go ahead and keep prepping for the DC bar. Like that way, you can take it. At least you'll, assuming you pass it, you'll be an Esquire much earlier than you would if you waited for Florida. So I was like, all right, like just go ahead, keep studying for the DC bar. Here I am, minding my business, studying for the DC bar. And then I got I don't remember dates, girl, but these they're burned. They're just there. I know that.
Those are etched in your brain
Yes.
forever.
Yes, they're there and they're never going away. So around this time as well, I remember like reading that like COVID cases were spiking in Florida, and I was like, just out of curiosity, I was like, what is the Florida bar gonna do? Like here it is, the cases are at an all-time high. Hospitals are flooded. They have
Mhm.
absolutely no resources. It's just a nightmare. And so instead of the Florida bar announcing this earlier, than July 1st, they announced July 1st, which by now I've already been studying quite some time for the DC bar,
Mhm.
that they are not only going to make the bar online, they are going to move it to August, I believe it was 18th or 19th, and it's only going to be one day. It's not going to be the multi state portion and Florida. So,
Let me stop you
yes.
right there, Brittany.
I know. I knew it was
I
coming.
speak I speak for attorneys everywhere
Yes.
that had to have this multi-day experience.
Oh my
Fuck
gosh.
y'all, man. That's some bullshit.
Oh, I know.
That
Like,
is some bullshit. Yo, y'all don't understand the stress of a multi-day bar exam. And you know what? Maybe everybody wasn't stressed. Some of you motherfuckers are Doogie Howser, and that shit probably was a cakewalk for you. I'm not gonna hold you.
mhm.
That wasn't my experience. That was not
Nope.
my experience. I struggled in law school with MBE questions.
Mhm.
That two answers are right, one is more right shit.
Oh my gosh.
Bro,
Oh,
what? What?
it's awful. It's
And not for nothing,
twisted.
it for complete transparency, I
Mhm.
knew that I was struggling with MBE questions during my 1L year. And so
Mhm.
my 2L year, my one of my bros,
Mhm.
listen, I love Sean to death. He's from New York City too, so we clicked
Sweet.
immediately. He's a Mason, I'm an Eastern Star, so we just like,
There
he
you go.
just took care of me completely. Like
Oh,
I didn't need to buy any supplements, like whatever he had, they were mine. So when I was
awesome.
like, yo, like I'm killing these essays, but this fucking MBE shit, I'm really struggling, bro.
Mhm.
He's like, yo, take the Kaplan flashcards, do
Mhm.
these questions. He's like, just keep doing them, you'll get better at
Mhm.
it. I'm not gonna hold you. I was like, nah, I'm not gonna do that. I was like, I'm gonna be honest. I was
Look.
like, yo, my essays are good enough to carry these grades, so
Mm.
I'm not gonna do it. And I promise you, my arrogance bit me in the ass because I failed the
Mm.
bar by what I think 2.5 points or 1.5.
Oh my
And
heart.
I was like, y'all
Oh,
are telling me you couldn't find
oh my
less than three
gosh.
points in my essays because my essays are fucking
Yeah.
stellar. And they were like, well,
Wow.
you can, again, to your point, you can pay to have us regrade it.
Mhm.
So
Wow.
I paid to have them regrade my essay, and they were like, yeah, we didn't find anything else. You couldn't find 3 points. You're lying. You're fucking lying. You just want more money from me.
Absolutely.
And
I
so I had
mean,
to retake and it's the MBE that I had to keep taking
mhm.
over because I killed the state portion.
Mhm.
I knew Florida state law like the back of my hand. But
Mhm.
those MBE questions
Yeah.
kicked my ass and they kicked it
Mhm.
continuously until finally I said, buy those fucking flashcards and do
Yes.
this until you pass out.
Mhm.
And then I passed with
There
flying
we
colors.
go. Yay! Oh,
But
I'm so happy.
it's my own fucking fault.
Look,
So I am really
it
I'm not gonna lie,
happens.
I'm a little bit pissed off you only had one day because I had two
I
days
know.
of anxiety.
I
But
know.
considering how much anxiety you guys were already going through, honestly, one day is fair.
Thank
One day is
you. I
one day.
appreciate that.
One
I
day.
mean, I can only imagine. Like, I know some friends, like, I just had a friend who took the California bar, and theirs was 2 days. So
Yeah.
some states kept it, some states didn't. I
I
was
think New
surprised
York
that
kept
Florida
their
didn't
two
want
days
to.
also.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know what kind of fueled the decision. I don't know how that's going to work in the cases of waiving because I don't know that we'll be able to like waive into other states, even if
Well,
we,
Florida doesn't have reciprocity with anybody anyway, so
yeah,
we
yeah.
can't wave in anywhere. I think we
Well,
can wave in
generally,
Texas now. I
and
think,
DC.
well, everyone can wave in
Yeah,
DC.
everybody
Doesn't
waving
count.
to DC. Yeah.
I don't even count DC, no shade, but it's literally the federal district. Everyone
Yeah.
has to be able to wave into DC.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it
Absolutely.
doesn't make sense. But I
Yeah.
think we can also wave into Texas now because I remember I
Oh,
was looking into
wow.
that during the summer. Don't quote me, but I'm almost positive. If
That'd
you
be a
have
miracle.
practiced for 5 years, I think you can wave in. I
Mm,
think that's just everybody. But again,
mm-hmm.
don't quote me. If
Yeah.
you have a bar card and you are trying to wave it to Texas, do your due diligence. This is not legal advice.
Yes, there you go. Come
You
through
will
with a
not be
disclaimer.
suing my.
Yes, I'm here for it. There you go. Like now they
So you
know.
ended up taking Florida virtually.
I did finally. So
How was
even
that
before,
administered?
well, quick note before I'd even gotten to take the Florida bar virtually. Fun fact. So here we are, 2.5 days outside of the bar, scheduled for August 19th. So by this point, I had switched my bar prep back to Florida, studying my butt off. Woke up 5 o'clock every day, studied for the 8 hours. That was my life, obviously, which had already been for a few months by that
Yeah.
point. And 2.5 days out, Florida sends an email. I remember it was Sunday night at 11 o'clock.
You are really good with. I mean, honestly, if I ever need a witness, I'm putting you on the stand because
Look it out. Thank you.
you are on top of this shit.
Oh, it's just because it was traumatic. It was only because it was traumatic. 11 o'clock at night, we get an email and they're like, oh, we're postponing the bar exam to October 13th, 2020. And they said initially that it was going to be the exact same format that they had planned for the August administration, or that, yeah, the August administration of the bar. So here we are, fast forward, finally, you know, getting close to the bar. And then Florida decides, maybe like a week after they announced that they were going to be postponing it, they announced that they're going to be changing the format of the exam. And now here we are going to have two different multiple choice like topics.
What?
Yeah, just completely new. And I was like, oh, what happened to it being the exact same, way that you had said it would be? So yeah, they just pretty much backtracked on that, essentially walked it back and didn't even say anything about it, just kind of dropped it in there. They did give us like what was going to be on it, but they said, by the way, for multiple choice, we're going to add two new
Two
topics
new topics.
that we have no way of preparing for because Florida's never done it before.
So,
Great.
also, side note for people who don't practice law, never taken the
Mm-hmm.
bar, um, there are a myriad of topics that could end up on your multiple choice.
Mm-hmm.
Some states habitually have the same topics. Some states actually rotate topics, but you
Mm-hmm.
almost always know what your state administers.
Mm-hmm.
So to have someone, and so you study, that's what you focus on
Mm-hmm.
because that's what is always on the bar.
Mm-hmm.
And so to have someone kind of monkey wrench that would be problematic. Like in New York,
Mm-hmm.
securities is almost always on the bar.
Mm-hmm.
In Florida, not so much. Like
Mm-hmm.
you'd be hard pressed to find a securities question on a Florida bar.
Mm-hmm.
But New York,
Yeah.
you pretty much need to come in expecting to see that shit there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow. So
So,
what two topics did they add? I'm curious.
it was torts and wills. So,
Is it torts is always on there?
well, no, not for
Wait,
not for
was this
multiple
for the state
choice.
part? Oh, for the state part.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, you're right. It's normally the essay.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like
Yeah.
it was my essay.
Torts
I
and
don't remember
wills.
what was on the questions though, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I'm old. But
I probably
I
want to
had a torts
forget.
essay, so the essay I remember.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So
But
yeah, and then
Wills, wow, that's
mm-hmm.
aggressive.
Yeah, so just imagine how we had to go about trying to prepare for questions that nobody had ever seen before.
That's an aggressive topic.
Mm,
How'd you do
yeah.
in wills, estates, and trusts during school?
Well, I actually didn't take wills and trusts.
Oh,
So I mean,
These
from
are
when
the
I was
fun
doing through
things
bar prep, yep,
that come out, people. You need to know that you could literally get to law school without taking a class, and that shit could still be on your bar exam. Like, you still could be responsible for knowing that shit. Like, welcome to our
exactly.
life.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, the only reason I didn't want to take Welsh was just because I was so traumatized by those essay exams. I was just like, I can't do another one, especially my last semester with clinic. I was like, I can't. It's a no for me.
I mean,
So,
tax. I always knew tax was like, I came in knowing tax law was what I was gonna do, so that
mm,
was a no brainer for me. Wills,
shout out
estates,
to
and trust
you.
was top of the list. We're taking them.
Yeah,
Like, that's
yeah,
not optional.
yeah. I
Wasn't
get
on my
that.
bar though, so
Oh, well, dang. It's like the one topic you know you would have played. Nope, we're not gonna put it on there. No big deal. Of course. But yeah, so I finally managed to take it on the 13th. I feel grateful because I fortunately did not have any sort of technical issues, but of course, there were so many stories about people who did, people who had to withdraw during the exam because of technical issues. And that
wow.
was not an uncommon issue.
I
Like,
never even thought of
um,
that.
yeah, across jurisdictions, people actually struggled with that. Like, a lot of jurisdictions actually still held the bar in person, but they just held it in October. So states like Alabama, I know
On
for a
brand.
fact.
On brand.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. And then other states, yeah, some like I think if I remember correctly, like one student was taking like the New York bar, and there was some sort of technical issue. They'd spent like hours by that point on the phone with tech support trying to like here you are in the middle of a bar exam and you have to call like because they even gave us like for Florida they gave us phone numbers like if you have any issues call them, so pretty much like stop your exam essentially if you're having issues stop what you're doing and call them to try to work through the issue to get back essentially to taking the
This is
exam.
stressful.
Yeah, so I know there was a few stories where people mid-exam there was the technical issues were just they could not be resolved and they had to withdraw mid-exam.
Wow, I feel
Yeah,
terrible for them.
yeah, my heart really
I
goes
didn't,
out to
I
them.
never even thought about that.
Hmm. Yeah.
Obviously because I just didn't know the logistics of the way
Mhm.
the virtual bar was administered because like you
Mhm.
can so in regular in the old normal, you can use
Mhm.
your laptop. Of course, you have to pay
Mhm.
an extra $100 to use your own.
Yep. 125.
So you pay to
Sorry.
use your own laptop if you want to
Yep.
use your laptop for the essay.
Mhm.
I'm trying to think. I don't think I did use my laptop. I feel like I wrote my shit out.
Oh wow, really?
That's how I took on my law school exams. I
Intense.
didn't use an
Really?
we didn't have that option.
Oh
You had to
wow.
write. We're blue book kids, so we didn't have the option.
Ooh, not the blue book.
They didn't start implementing laptops. I want to say until the year after me.
Oh,
Um,
of course.
of course.
Right
So I
after.
wasn't going to now type out. I
Mhm.
mean, I probably should have just because I type fast. I might have been able to get more issues in there. But I felt like this is how I got through law school. This is how
Mhm.
I'm accustomed to writing. Let me
Mhm.
stick to what I know. Don't
Yeah.
divert from the plan. Like that's all
Yeah.
everyone kept drilling in us. Whatever you've been doing,
Right.
stick to it. Don't
Yeah.
change the plan. So
Absolutely.
I stuck to the plan. The only thing
Yep.
I didn't do before the bar that I had done before all my other exams is drink. And my little sister said that that's probably why I failed. She said, you've been drinking before every exam in law school and then you show up bone sober. Your brain didn't know what was happening. She might be right. She's not right about a lot of things, but she might be right about.
Look, it is what it is. Like you made it.
I
You made it through law
mean,
school looking that way. It
where
is
we're
what it
starting,
is.
how it's going. So,
Yes. Love it.
but yeah, I never thought of that. Damn, that's got to be a heartbreaker.
Yeah.
Midway
Like I
through.
said. Hmm.
Wow,
I mean,
I'm
I
glad
was
that
just
you didn't experience that.
yeah, I felt so grateful. Like I was just I remember though, like once I took it, I was just like, oh my God. Like I was so scared. I was like, but my head was all over the place. But at the same time, I was just so fatigued from it all. I mean, just the studying, like the bar is made to study for like those 8 weeks. It's not like you sit here and study for like 8 hours a day for like 5 months.
Yeah,
And even before I had begun like official bar prep in law school, I had taken like a bar prep class. So we had already kind of started going through the
yeah.
motions. And like the class was very much like kind of, I think now that I look back on it, was very much like, had like a great resemblance to like just general bar prep, like the lectures, because we'd have to go home and watch these really long lectures, do practice multiple choice, submit weekly essays, like, you know, to really kind of make sure that we were in it.
Yeah.
So it's like essentially it goes back to January when I was already kind of doing bar prep while I was still in school. And then, you know, here it is,
At this point,
October,
you've been doing bar prep for like 8
like
months,
3
9 months.
seasons.
Right? The leaves have changed.
Yes, exactly. It's like, my gosh, like, and I mean, like I said, the jurisdictions just really kind of just showed their hands, like really no sort of empathy. Like when Florida kept postponing, there the night that they postponed, like in August, there was no apology to bar test takers. There was no like, we're deeply sorry that we have to do this. There was a thank you to the volunteers who were going to watch us on cameras while we took the test. There were
Wow.
thank yous to the you know, the bar, the staff of the bar or whatever, but no apology to us. And I really think the only reason that they ever even began to apologize to us, which was, you know, by the Supreme Court, Florida Supreme Court justice, whatever.
Mhm.
You know, I feel like he only did it because it made national headlines, because of the fact that they were
Yeah.
like, Florida moved the exam hours essentially, or like just
Oh,
days
absolutely. Like
before.
if that shit went under the
Yeah.
radar, they wouldn't have apologized.
Oh, absolutely. And it still barely was an apology. You could tell he was reading off a teleprompter, and it was just very obviously just
Cold.
disingenuous. They didn't care. They don't care about us. They never did. And that was like my main point after that was like, I will now forever be an advocate to get rid of bar. I don't care that like I had to go through like bar prep for like God knows like 8 months or whatever
Yeah.
it was. Like I was just like, nobody should have to do this. And I really just feel like the bar, I mean, it's rooted in racism. That's the only reason we have the bar. It was to keep
Mhm.
Black people out of practicing law. That's exactly why we have it. And it's like, why is this still a thing? Again, like most things, it's not broken. This was all very intentional. But now
Correct.
they've managed to twist it and manipulate it into thinking that
Yep.
it's a measure of competency, when in reality, there's absolutely no measure of competency, because you can look all this up in the matter of 5 seconds. Like,
That's always been my argument. I'm like,
mm-hmm.
no one practices law from memory,
Nope.
which
And
is
if we
why I
did, we'd be in
really
a lot of
hate.
trouble.
It's a pet peeve of mine when like I meet people. First of all, this is why I don't volunteer the
Mm-hmm.
information that I'm an attorney. For whatever reason, people feel like they automatically, like the minute they hear I'm an attorney, they need to get into some kind of fucking mental joust with me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, so what's this and what's that?
Yeah.
Bitch, you got Google. Let your smartphone be smart. Because unless you got a retainer
Exactly.
with me,
Mm-hmm.
unless my IOTA
Exactly.
account got your money in it, bitch, I
Yep.
don't owe you no fucking answers. Like, I'm not about to go back and
Exactly. It
nobody. I'm
is
like,
not your
nobody practices law from
responsibility.
memory. Do you think that I'm sitting around with like the IRC just like lodged in my brain? Do you know how big the fucking Internal Revenue Code is?
Right? Oh my
Like, you don't
gosh.
even know who your dad is, bitch. So why do I have to know the law? Mind your fucking manners. Move around. Shit. People be
Love
on my
it.
goddamn
I
nerves.
know. I feel you
Clearly,
on
I'm
that
triggered.
one. Look, I know. I get it. I get it wholeheartedly. Oh my God.
But I listen, I dig the advocacy for getting rid of the bar. I'm someone who's never I've never done as well on standardized exams as I
Mm-hmm.
perform in class. So
Yeah.
like I've always struggled with standardized exams,
Mm-hmm.
even when I do really well in them. So like if
Mm-hmm.
I, you know, if we're just doing like a regular 1 to 100, if I got like a
Mm-hmm.
85 on a standardized exam, it would be for a course that I'm getting like a 95 and above in. Like
Right. Mm-hmm.
there's never any equity in the
Mm-hmm.
performance. So
Yeah.
I'm just like, you know, I don't do well with these questions, but my
Mm-hmm.
comprehension of the material is
Mm-hmm.
exceptionally high. So
Yeah.
don't base it on that because that was one day.
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing this for months. So this is
Mm-hmm.
consistently that I've been doing this well. Why is that
Mm-hmm.
not much more important?
Exactly.
I listen, I look forward to seeing you abolish the fucking
Yes.
bar.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so
Fuck that, they
much.
piss me off. Yo, you ain't gonna tell me you couldn't find 3 points on my motherfucking bar. Bitch, you's a lie. You's a
That's
fucking
all
lie.
it. That's all that matters. Like right there.
Period.
Like, look, you know you could have. You know.
I was like, it's no way. It's no
Yeah.
way. First of all,
I
it's no
mean,
way
three
you might.
points.
You just want
It is though. It's all this really disturbing game. It's a
because
disturbing
it's
game.
it's extremely subjective
Yeah.
for the essays. I mean, once you pull out every issue or as many issues as you can find, it's really subjective on whether or not they feel you IRAC'd it right.
Yeah.
Because if you're a good lawyer, you should be able to
Wow.
argue it either way. So
Exactly.
like this is really just your opinion.
Yeah.
The way I IRAC'd it. I mean, short of something just absolutely being what it is,
Mhm.
I should be able to make an argument
Mhm.
that actually it might be this instead. Like everything doesn't need
Exactly.
to be Scalia. It doesn't have to be this fucking
Oh,
literal interpretation of the fucking
yes.
law. No shade. I mean,
Absolutely.
I'm not gonna hold you. He don't get an RIP from me. I
Look.
wasn't upset he passed. I was like, when he
Mhm.
passed, I was like, I hope we could
Mhm.
get that seat.
Right? And we didn't.
We did it. We did it.
We
I
didn't
was
get it.
like, I ain't gonna hold y'all. Now when RBG passed, bitch,
Oh,
I was like, never
oh
would have
my
made
God.
it.
And I'm pretty sure RBG passed just before the bar. And I remember like once I read that, I was just that I felt that much more like defeated. Like the burnout was already there. I had been working through burnout by that point for like
No,
2 months.
she passed after the bar. No, I feel like it
I
was after
think
the
it
bar. It was right. No, you're right. Right
I
before.
think it was right before, and I
When was
just
the bar
remember
administered again?
October 13th. Yeah, it was definitely before the
Yeah,
bar.
then it was before.
Yeah.
It was. You
Yeah.
know why? You know why I was confused? Because I was also in Fort Lauderdale. I told you I like Fort Lauderdale.
There
I
you
was
go.
also in Fort Lauderdale that weekend. One of my good girlfriends from law school was her birthday. So a bunch
Mm.
of us, it was like literally a house full of mostly women lawyers. And like
Wow, that
our phone
power.
started pinging that
Yep.
RBG was dead. And we all were
Yep.
like the whole mood in the room was
Yep.
like we lost our Jewish auntie. Like we were that sad. We were taking shots for RBG.
Yes.
Now we lost the real one today. So
Yes.
it was right before the bar. Yeah.
Mhm.
That were you
Man.
inspired by that or were you kind of like went out of your sails?
It felt more like a win out of my sales. Like I was because by that point I'd been going so long, and then I mean not only just like the whole bar process and then the jurisdictions, it was like by that point as well, there were so many job listings that I had read that were like spring 2020 grads pretty much like need not apply, and it's like it felt like already kind of like just a ton of things were like against just us in general as like bar test takers
Yeah.
and a pandemic, and then just like reading that I was just not prepared for it. Like I heard like she'd been sick, but then all of a sudden to hear like you know she's gone, I was just like,
A little piece of me was
oh
upset.
God.
I felt bad for feeling upset, but then I was like, it's how I feel though. Like
Yeah.
I really, really, I wish the Dems operated like the Republicans do. Like, if we stop trying to take the moral
Mm,
fucking high ground and do what we need
I
to do to secure
know.
power, we'd be in a better spot.
Yeah.
Honestly, RBG needed to come off that bench while Barack was still in office. Period. She was already
Yeah.
old. Sis had already did more than her fair share of work. Like, I
Mhm.
get it. You wanna work until you can't work no more. My mom is
Mhm.
one of those people. But
Yeah.
this shit is a bigger this shit is bigger than you. Like it's bigger than your ego.
Yeah.
Not to say like in an egotistical fashion, but
Mhm.
ego itself. So this is bigger than your
Yeah, absolutely.
we collectively need your seat. Like we needed that
Mhm.
seat. So I really,
Yeah.
really wish that the DNC could have convinced her to come up off the bench while Barack was still in office.
Right.
That would have done us a world of good. And
Yeah.
speaking of the bench, I don't know if you know, but yesterday SCOTUS heard the California versus Texas case, which is these motherfuckers trying to get rid of the ACA yet again.
Wow, I
So
did
when you get a
not.
chance, you should look into that. It this is like Amy's first big case, and we all know that
Oh wait, right.
we
Oh
know that
God,
Amy is
don't
she's
get me
basically on that
started.
Handmaid's Tale shit. So I'm interested to see what opinion comes off of that court about this ACA. I mean, honestly, it's like the third time that
I mean,
they
how
have
many
tried to get rid of
times?
it. This is what I'm
I
saying.
don't
Like,
get
there's
it.
gotta
You've
be a
already
limit.
addressed this. Seriously.
I don't even
I
know
mean,
why SCOTUS keeps allowing it to
it
come before the
doesn't
court. Like,
make sense.
y'all can prevent it from coming before the court. You can say we won't
Hmm.
hear this again.
Exactly. Voila. I mean, you've already, I mean,
It's been
oh gosh.
adjudicated more than once.
Yes,
Why
exactly.
would that?
Like, technically you want to do constitutional analysis. Look, mootness, mootness.
I'm like, at this, well, that's the thing. So the thing is that fuck Mootness standing. At this point, they're trying to say,
Yeah.
they're trying to throw it. Well, the hope is that, like, honestly, or at least that was our hope. Like, y'all should just throw it out on standing. But, that didn't happen. They
Mm-hmm.
listened to the arguments and
Mm-hmm.
we'll see what opinion comes out. But I'm going to be honest, standing alone should have had them the fuck up out of here. But,
Yep.
here we are back at El Rancho.
Gosh, oh, I'm just so nervous, but I mean,
Yeah.
grateful for last week. The
Well, I know that
up
your bar
there.
result. Oh, girl, we are
Yes.
all super grateful for last week. I had to get one of the trumpets together on Sunday, as there was a congratulations parade in downtown Orlando, and one of the
Mm.
trumpets
Oh no.
had a great idea to try to sass me.
Ooh, ooh. Excuse me.
I was like, oh, I have time. I'm not even, I have nothing but time. So the trumpet number one, he says to me, oh, it's easy to win when you steal an election. I said, you should know.
Oh,
That's how y'all got here.
ooh.
Next.
Well said.
He was
Yes,
like, oh, he
ma'am.
spanked Hillary. He spanked Hillary. I said, Hillary won the popular vote. So by spanking, you mean what, loss?
Mm,
Walk me through the facts, sir. So then he's like, so then trumpet number two interjects and he's like, well, these it's not a large gap. Those votes are easy to make up. I said, not a large gap. Your math is impressive. Your math is impressive because the number is quite large. These are
mm-hmm.
five figures.
4
I think
million.
he's up by like 40,000 votes in Pennsylvania, but that's not a large gap. No, that like 500 and what 37, 40 votes or whatever that
Mm-hmm.
Bush and Gore had, that was not a large
Mm-hmm.
amount.
Yeah.
Figures, I said your math is very impressive. I am. And then the dual trumpets tried to tell me, well, Trump won the popular vote. I said, well, clear, you know nothing because Republicans have not won the popular vote in over 30 years, but somehow
Yep.
you have managed to hold office more than once. It's the math for me.
Yep.
So if you want to talk
I
about cheating and the bullshit, sir, you've come to the right place. I sit on information and
say,
I have nothing but time.
like you say, it's the audacity for me.
Girl, I'm telling you,
It
Audacity must
is
be on
the
sale at Costco.
audacity.
They buying that shit in bulk.
Yes, they are absolutely and some. Like,
I'm like, see, and this is
mm-hmm.
why I be audacious in my shit. I act like white people. You got to tell me no, because I'm not going to tell me no. They
Oh
don't.
my gosh!
Fuck that.
Shout out to you.
Anyway, Brittany, thank you so much for coming on. We are
Thank
praying for you
you.
and cheering for you.
Oh, thank
Brittany
you.
gets her she gets her results on the 20th. The 20th, right?
Yeah, that's funny.
9 days and counting. We're excited. We are
Thank
claiming the
you.
victory. I cannot wait for you to get sworn in. Let me know when
Oh,
you do so I can Zoom
yes.
call in because ain't nobody gonna be nowhere. You know what? Wait, really
Thank
quick.
you.
It wasn't even a pandemic, but we zoomed in, well, not zoomed, but like FaceTimed in
Mm-hmm.
my law school bestie Jen, because I got sworn in New York.
Aw.
Because my grandmother she's too old to travel, and I really
Yeah.
want her to be at my swearing in. I wanted,
Yeah.
my mom would fly to Bangladesh to see me get sworn in.
Aw.
I really wanted my grandmother to be there too, so I got sworn
Mm-hmm.
in New York, and Jen was like, y'all gotta call me, FaceTime me. So Jen was driving and they FaceTimed her in. So you know what? I may have been like the pioneer of the Zoom swear.
Love it. Look, you were the OG. What are we talking about? You were the first one to come up with it. Look, ahead of it. Way ahead.
So we make sure anybody that's listening, make sure that you keep Brittany in your prayers. Make sure that you put one up for her, pour one out for her, smoke one up for her, and all the vibes to my girl Britt.
Thank you.
And I really look forward to seeing you again and hanging out with you
Yes.
again. Britt is my new mentee. She's stuck with me for life now. She's
Yes. So grateful.
she
Thank
is
you so
family
much.
now. Everybody that's listening, thank you for checking out the show again. Please follow on Instagram, Black Girl SOS, girl with the Y, not with an I. You can find the merchandise at www.brandsnobby.com. Follow us on YouTube. Click the notification bell so you never miss us. And until next time, y'all have a good one. Peace.